Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, What the Beck. Today I'm going to be making a crochet tutorial for this scarf, and as you can see it is a piano scarf. So it doesn't make noise, but it looks like it does, and that might be all you need in a scarf like this. So this is my first video tutorial, and it might not be what I usually post, and I'm not going to be like switching over to only doing crochet tutorials, but if a design is simple enough that I think people would benefit from the video version, I'm going to be posting it anyway. So it's not a planner, but if you want to crochet this, then you can, and you can show me your projects on Instagram. You can tag me. My handle is right down here, and I will like and comment on your Instagram posts. And yeah, so let's get into what you need to make this. So obviously you need yarn. I'm using these blues as demonstration because I think it'll be easier to see. Like you can see already in the ball, you can see all the shadows and stuff to see what I'm doing, and black isn't really ideal to show up on camera, so I just decided to use two different shades of one color. After you have your yarn, you need your hook, and I'm using a 6.5 millimeter, but you can pretty much use any hook from 5 to 6.5, and that's because depending on the weight of your yarn, it will be bigger or smaller. So for example, the yarn that I used in this piece right here is actually a little bit thicker than this one. If you can see, this one's a little bit thinner than this. So I use this one, but I'm just gonna be using that with this hook for time's sake. Also, there's an ambulance in the background, but this is thinner, so I would suggest that if you have a thinner yarn, then you use a size down until the stitches in the width are as much as you would like it to be. And after that, you're going to need a yarn needle, which is pretty standard, and some snappy scissors, and then you're pretty much ready to go. So in my little book here, I have a chart, and this is basically the pattern that we're going to be doing and repeating over and over. So the first row is 20 stitches, and it looks like you have to do a lot of color changes, but you only have to cut yarn for the black sections or whatever color you would replace it with, and the color for the white sections is always in play, so it's like always active. And I'm going to show you how you can maintain that in your project by carrying your yarn under the other yarn. It'll all make sense in a minute, okay? So the first thing that you want to do is take some of your yarn and like loosen it up so that you can see where it is, and then you're going to leave a tail about 5 or 6 inches long to weave in later, and make your slip knot like that. Put that on your hook, and you're going to chain 20. So I have 20, and then you add 1 as a turning chain, so you have a total of 21. You can go back and count that, but I literally just made it, and I trust that it's 21 stitches. And then what you're going to do is do 2 rows of single crochet with this color. So as you can see, I have done my first 2 rows, and each row has 20 stitches. We won't be increasing or decreasing because it is a scarf of a constant width. So make sure you count your stitches at this point so that you don't have to redo the whole scarf later. Make sure you have 20. And I didn't mention this before, but we are going to only be using 1 turning chain for every row, and it's going to be a little bit more complicated later on, but for now you only need 1 turning chain with the same color that you're using. So here's my 2 rows, and then have a turning chain, and then you're going to do 10 single crochet and then stop. So here is my 3rd row. I have 10 single crochets, and now I'm going to consult my chart. And so we've done these first 2 rows here, so we've done our 10 single crochet. So what we're going to do next is change to the darker color, and in order to do that we have to take your darker color find the end because this cake is very messy. There it is, okay. And then we're going to leave a tail like we did before, but this time it's going to be as short as possible because in order to avoid weaving in ends, we're going to crochet over them. So make a slip knot with as short of a tail as you can possibly do, and then we're going to just put that down for now. And you see how this loop is like through the entire stitch and there's a car outside? So what we're going to do is we're going to like backtrack, put your hook through those two loops as if you were going to pull it through, but just drop it behind your work. Put your slip knot of the new yarn onto your hook. Whoops, don't pull it off like that. Put it onto your hook and then pull it through so that you have completed that stitch, and you can pull on this a little bit so that it lines up. But we need to hold this tail against our work like this, leave the light colored tail behind it. See how that is? Because we don't need to carry both of them. That will waste your yarn. So now what we're going to do is 10 single crochet, making sure that you're trapping this end under your stitches. So I'll do one as an example right now. So for regular single crochet, you just go in, make sure that your tail is on top of your stitches, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through too. So that kind of locks it in place, and you would just continue doing single crochet over top of your tail until it has been underneath of, I would say, like 4 to 5 stitches, and then you can cut it. So I'm going to cut this like this and throw that into my stuffing pile, and now I don't have to weave in that end. So do single crochet 10 stitches with the darker color till you get to the other end, and then chain 1 and turn. Now that we have turned, we're going to do one row where every stitch is with the dark color, but when you get to your 11th stitch, you kind of have to stop and think, because we are carrying yarn under so that we can use it in the next round. So there's my 9th stitch and my 10th stitch, and now for my 11th, you can see that the yarn is down here at the bottom of this row. So like this is where the row ends and the yarn comes out of here. So what we're going to do is put it up and around so that you can still see this hole right here. So you're basically going to be trapping it under your hook like this. So you lift it up, hold it over here, and then put your hook in. It can be loose for now. Do your single crochet into that space like so, and then pull it to make it a little bit tighter. And then you just continue to do single crochet along the row, trapping that yarn underneath. When you get to the end of your row, you can see how this matches up to our chart like this. So we've done these 3 rows plus this long one, but when we reach the next row, we need to use the light color again. So we have to switch colors at the last stitch. So you put your hook in, pull up the loop of the dark, drop the dark, pick up the light color and pull it through. And then you make your turning chain in that color. For the next row, we're going to do a similar thing that we did for the last one. Lift this up so that you can trap it under your light color and go into that space and make 10 light colored single crochets. For your 10th single crochet, we're going to do another color change just like this and drop the light yarn and finish the row with 10 dark colored single crochets. Now I said before that the only color you need to cut and finish off is going to be your dark color. This is the point when we're going to do that. So in order to finish it off, you would go like you're going to do a turning chain, tighten your knot like this so that it hangs on tight, and then I just leave that loop here and cut it like that, and that way the end is still short for when I have to crochet over it in the next row. So for the next row, as you can see, we've completed one key, so our next row is going to be entirely the light color. But as you can see, the yarn is over here, and you're probably thinking, well, you said we weren't going to cut the light colored yarn, and that's correct, but we are going to have to do a little bit of magic with it. So put your hook through the first stitch here as if you were going to attach new yarn. Then what you need to do is bring your yarn over and behind your work, hook it like this, whoops, pull it through that stitch like so, and then tighten it or loosen it. So if it's too tight like this, you need to loosen it so that it's that length right here, and then if it was too loose, you just pull on this to make it tighter. So find a good medium. You want it to be able to stretch a little bit, and then you hold down this string here that we finished off and the light colored string, chain one, and then in that same space do a single crochet working over those chains, and work across your row with the light color, doing all of the 20 stitches and cutting your ends as you go. That one actually kind of hid in there by itself, so I don't have to cut it, but work across your row like this over the top of that extra little strand, and that will keep it in place and not mess up your color work, and you won't have to cut the yarn. So as you can see, that kind of hid itself, and you don't have to weave that end. So finish off this row with the light color, and I'll see you at the next step. Now we're going to chain one and turn your work, and if you can see how the key looks, this is basically the same shape that we're making. So this first section is different because it is the edge of the piece and it is a full like edge of the key, but these keys are basically the same shape. So there's 3 rows stacked on one side and then 1 row in the middle on this side. So if you look at this, we have 10 on the bottom row, 20 on the top row, so we need to do 10 more on top of this, then switch colors and do your 10 in the darker color, and making sure that you crochet over the ends, but also remembering to keep the light colored tail out of your work, and I'll see you after that. So here's that row completed. Chain one and turn, whoops, leave your hook in there, turn your work, and then we're going to do the same as this section down here. We're doing the whole row as the dark color and carrying this light color underneath. Remember that at the end of this row we're doing a color change, so for your last stitch you pull through with the dark color and then complete the stitch with the light color. Chain one and turn like this, and try to keep your strings in check. It can get a little bit tangly, which is why I have the yarn on the table instead of in a bag, because I was making this with the yarn in a bag and it got really tangled. So bring your darker yarn in front of your hook just so it's easier to see what you're doing, like this, so they're not tangled. This one goes up and over to the top, and tighten up this stitch, and then do your first one holding that tail into place, and then do your 10 light colored single crochets over that tail, and then switch colors, do your 10 dark colors, and finish off. Remember that when you're doing your final section of the dark ones, just leave that light colored tail hanging off to the back, and complete your stitches like we did before, and finish off at this end. Again, we're going to turn our work so that this tail is on the right side, and bring your yarn up and over, pull it through the stitch like that. Make sure that you have enough wiggle room to go over it, and then do your chain 1 over top of this little tail and single crochet in the same space as the chain 1, and then we're going to do our full row of the light color, and I'll see you after that. Now if you look here, you'll see that we have 2 completed keys at this point, 2 completed black keys, and the way that a real piano is laid out is like on this sample. There are 3 in a row, and then a skipped space, and then 2 in a row, and then 3, 2, 3, 2, all the way down. So we're going to continue doing the instructions one more time to make another key, and then we're going to add 1 row of the dark color, and I'll show you that once I've completed that work. So just for now, do the instructions as before to make 1 more black key with a light colored stripe across the top. So it looks like this, but there's actually 3 instead of 2. So here I am with the 3 keys completed, the 3 black keys of course, and I have my 1 line of light color along the top. So what we're gonna do now is complete 1 more row of the white or the light color on top of this so that we have 2 rows. That way the work will match our handy chart here. So as you can see, I need to update this, so let me get my pen. So we've done up to here, so we have this first light colored row. We need 1 more light colored row, and then I'll show you how to attach the yarn for the dark colored row. So I've done my second light colored row, but I haven't pulled the final loop through this last single crochet because guess what? We're changing colors again. So you're gonna go ahead, make your slip knot with the smallest tail you can possibly give it, pull that dark loop through the light loops, and then what we're going to do is chain 1, turn your work, and then we need to pull up the light colored one and hold this dark tail in place like this, and go under that little loop into that first single crochet, and we're going to make a single crochet in every single crochet across, covering up those tails as we go. So if you notice, I actually pulled the final loop through the stitch even though we're going to be doing a color change for the next row, and that is because I find it easier to just finish off this dark color like this and make sure that's tight, and then what I do is I just put my hook into the stitch as though I never made that little knot. So I put it through the top loop and then I put it through this farthest left loop. So that's basically what it looks like before you pull that through, and then I pull it through, I pull the light color through that and make my chain 1, and that's how I just kind of keep this tail down low so it's easier to crochet over. So now we're going to do 2 rows of the light color, and I'll meet you back here. So I have finished these 2 rows, and I'm gonna bring up the chart again because I actually updated it this time, so we're at this point right here. So as you can see, we just completed this last light colored row, so we're going to then do the 10 light colored ones, change colors, do 10 this way, 20 across with the dark color, carrying your yarn as we have before until you have 2 more keys, and then you just repeat these 4 lines up here, and that is your whole repeat done. I'll see if I can show you that all at once. So everything that you need to know how to do, you already have. I will provide a link to a PDF in the comments of this video that has this chart and little check boxes so you can count how many rows you're on. And basically the hardest part of this is just remembering when you need to carry and finish off your yarn. So basically that's it, and I will finish working up this sample and show you that in just a second so you can see that that's how the chart works. But yeah, And another thing that I wanted to say is that for this scarf right here, I did 7 repeats of that. And when you are done your final repeat, you don't put the black line here. You would just leave it with these final 2 light lines, and then that matches up with the other end that we already did. So this line is only in there if you are adding another repeat. So I totally forgot to tell you to finish off when you're done your final light colored row, and that is when you weave in your 2 ends of this project. You should have one at the very start and one at the very end, and they're both light colored, and that is how I basically, that's the only 2 that you have to weave in with the needle, and the other ones are all already hidden. So here's that sample that I promised. As you can see, there's the 3 dark keys in a row, then the separation, and then 2. And then if you were going to do another repeat, you would add another separation line of just 1 row of the dark color, and then continue with the repeat. And then when you get to the end, you just leave it blank like this, because you don't have to imply the space between the keys because it's the last key, it's the last one on there. And then I would like to see if anyone does like a rainbow version of this, like maybe with black keys and every key is a different color. That would be really cool. So if you do something like that, please tag me on Instagram, and thanks for making my pattern. I love to see your results, and leave me a comment if you like this video and if I should make more easy crochet tutorials. Bye!